Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. So it is start of August, so we're doing our regular look back at what's been happening in terms of on-chain activity for blockchain games, taking the data from DApp Radar. So actually this month, quite a lot going on. So for much of 2024, the narrative has been not much going on, but in the last few months we've seen quite a bit going on. So this is looking at the most popular blockchain games. So I've just taken sort of a few of these. There's a few more graphs to look at. As ever, I look at DApp Radar's figures, and then there are some sort of games or apps that are listed in DApp Radar's games category, which I don't look at because I don't really think they're games, or I think they're not really being sustained. Or there's reasons why I don't just look at the pure top rated games in the DApp Radar games category, and that's because I'm doing some sort of filtering, and I always look to see, and maybe there'll be some of those ones I will add in future months, but at the moment this is what I think is sort of the things that I would call games. Obviously with blockchain there's a whole bunch of things that could be doing a lot of on-chain transactions that are nothing to do with games. We'll look at maybe actually one of those as time goes on. But I'm looking for things that I think are actually games and actually have the activity sort of related to a game rather than a token airdrop or something like that. Okay, just that caveat. So what do we see in July? This is the month we're looking at, really, July here. So we can see here, Pixels, as ever, as it has been for the whole year, is the most popular blockchain game in terms of on-chain activities. Had this big drop off in June when it launched its chapter 2, basically lost 69% of its audience. That was mainly bots because the reward system was changed. Got down to about 250,000 daily active unique wallets. We can assume, roughly speaking, that's probably its human user base. Climbed back up to 750,000 again. We would imagine that is mainly bots coming back online. So maybe some more humans as well. But yeah, the one thing we don't really... Well, there's two things. One, we know that every blockchain game has bots. We don't know what percentage of the traffic is bots. Is it 90%? Is it 10%? So we sort of occasionally get these specific events where they change something in the game, and that gives us an idea. So I'm not saying Pixels is exactly 70% bots, but we can see, clearly it's not 10% bots. So we've seen this for Pixels. We can't really say for these other games because we haven't really seen that drop off yet. So anyway, just bear that in mind. So it's Pixels, as ever, as it has been for the whole year, is the biggest on-chain blockchain game. So let's look at some of the sort of smaller ones. And I guess the thing to point out here is, as people say, even if you take away all the bots, Pixels is still bigger than everything else with the bots in it. So if we assume it's 250,000 daily active unique humans playing the game, that's still probably twice the size of some of these other ones, and these other ones will have bots in as well. So Pixels is still sort of number one by quite a shot. So if we look at what I call less popular blockchain games, but these are still, so this is the these are still, these ones are actually sort of doing 100,000 or getting on for 100,000 daily active unique wallets. Obviously, a bunch of bots in there. We can see, quite three products that have sort of been growing in the last couple of months. So in May we have Boomland. So what's going on here? Boomland is actually a sort of more a publisher. So its main game that it's operating is called Hunters on Chain. That's gone and done its first season 1 airdrop season. That was getting about 60,000. Had about 60,000 wallets, 70,000 wallets through the entire season. What's interesting here, I guess, is that the season's ended. We haven't seen a drop off of audience. So we know that Boomland's also putting another couple of its sort of more hyper casual games. And actually also putting some stuff in Telegram as well, some Telegram games as well. So I'm not quite sure whether DApp Radar's covering that sort of stuff, but we know it's sort of doing some sort of Web 2 to Web 3 sort of onboarding. So these are this is not a single game. This is Hunters on Chain, which is a sort of on-chain game on the Immutable blockchain, and some other things, car parking game, and or a car game and a archery game, where they're onboarding people to the Immutable passport wallets. That's sort of the activity we're seeing. So just sort of be aware, this is more an ecosystem sort of thing than a single game. The sort of big sort of happening in July was Blocklaw's Dynasty. So this is a sort of companion game to Blocklaw's. Blocklaw's is a PC game. It doesn't actually have any blockchain in it really at the moment. Blocklaw's Dynasty is sort of a fully on-chain game on the base blockchain. You have to own some of the NFTs from Blocklaw's ecosystem, and then you can sort of it's a very sort of simple sort of idle resource game, and it's related to the launch of the Lords token. So you can earn these things called orbs, and orbs you can then destroy those, or at some point in the future you're able to destroy those and get the Lords tokens that sort of there's a Lords token allocation for each sort of set of orbs. So this is sort of this is a sort of token airdrop, but you have to actually play the game. It's not just to come on board and sort of click a few buttons and retweet stuff. You actually have to play the game. We can see here, so it's just pretty much gone straight up. It is doing about 3 million transactions a day. It is the biggest app on base blockchain by far. I guess the thing here is this is sort of an airdrop sort of related app, although I think there will be some activity after the airdrop stuff finishes, because it is linked into the battle pass for the main Blocklords game. So the stuff you do in Dynasty can earn you rewards on the battle pass for Blocklords. So there is a reason to play Dynasty even when this airdrop thing is finished. But I imagine, as ever, 70% of this will be bots. I think so. We'll find out next month where that ends up going when the token stuff actually finishes tomorrow. The Lords, the orbs sort of claim stuff finishes tomorrow. So in August we'll sort of see where that one goes. But it sort of shows, you can get these games with fairly substantial growth. This is sort of like straight up growth in a 3-week period. Katazan is a sort of a fairly simple sort of match game on Telegram/Ton. So there's loads of stuff happening on Telegram/Ton at the moment. Lots of people deploying games on there. As I say, Boomland are putting some of their games on there. Actually, quite a lot of their games on there. I'm not quite sure what's on chain, if anything. Katazan has claimed 26 million active players. We can see here, though, from the daily on-chain activity, assuming DappRadar's doing it right, tracking it right. So, it's well under, a peak 150,000 daily active unique wallets. So it's quite a scaling down of on-chain activity compared to what they were claiming, 26 million sort of registered. I think that was 26 million lifetime users. So sort of I guess you're dividing by a factor of 100, aren't you? To get to 26, that would be 260,000 DAUs. So anyway, we'll see what's happened. Lots of people are very interested in Telegram as a platform, so we'll see. I guess we'll see more of that, and we'll see actually how some of these big numbers for users on Telegram are actually relating to sort of constant daily activity. Anyway, these three, they're all these three products, or these three sort of projects are not specific games, but they're in some ways showing that there is some virality in the ecosystem at the moment, although it's limited to obviously hundreds of thousands, not millions of wallets. We have Nine Chronicles and Alien Worlds. They've been knocking along for a number of years. I mean, Alien Worlds in particular has been around for about 4 years now. So not really much happening there. Fairly steady. Again, there will be bots in these sort of idle games. I mean, Nine Chronicles is an idle RPG. Alien Worlds is a pretty, to some degree, the entry level is pretty simple sort of clicker, resource sort of clicker game. So Nine Chronicles has sort of seen sort of better growth. So it's sort of doubled its growth in 2024, but sort of capped in the sense that it's not sort of the growth's not sort of continuing in a way that Blocklords Dynasty is. So that's what's happening there. So there's a few other sort of smaller games. So again, here the scale here of the daily active unique wallets. This is 60,000. This is tens of thousands. This, I guess you could say, was hundreds of thousands, or they're small hundreds of thousands. But this is not even hundreds of thousands. These are games that launched fairly recently, and these are games that are, I think, not particularly aiming to be very on-chain. So these, in fact, are all these games are available through the App Store. Some of them are also available on PC. But Guild of Guardians is a a mobile game. Rumble Racing Stars is available through the App Store, so they're also PC. So these are sort of interesting from that point of view. There's obviously different restrictions you can do if you're going through App Stores. So none of them are like sort of breakout hits. It's good to see they're doing a few tens of thousands daily, pretty much. Well, Rumble Racing sort of was. That was more of a token sort of campaign, I think. And obviously we can see with all these games they sort of peaked and then sort of dropped off a little bit. These three down here at least. So Nightcrows is a big sort of RPG, so it's also on PC. You get these big spikes when they have a token you can sort of mint out. So you sometimes get these days where that can happen, and then you get a lot more activity going on because people are basically creating the in-game token. But if you play this game, it's sort of the blockchain is sort of quite hidden away. You have to get quite advanced in the game in order to get to the blockchain. Guild of Guardians is sort of, I think, the main blockchain bit here is people leveling up their NFTs. Interesting one here, I guess, is Wild Forest. So this is again a mobile game. It's going to be a PC version of it as well. This is on the Ronin blockchain. So Ronin blockchain sort of has quite a lot of active wallets on it. Actually, we'll have a look at a graph of this later on. And so again, it's not massive. The token's coming live in the next couple of months. Well, that's at least what the plan was originally. We'll see if that pans out. So people are sort of playing, I think, in that slightly enhanced way because they expect the token to be coming. But anyway, it's not even. It's gone to about whatever that is, 50,000 daily active unique wallets. So it's not enormous, but I guess with Ronin, as we'll see, there's quite a lot of activity can happen on Ronin. So I guess it's the question of how fast this can grow. So looking at Ronin in particular, so this puts it into perspective. So here's Wild Forest here. So the growth doesn't look so big on this bigger scale when you have up to 100,000. So these are the sort of apps and the games on Ronin. And the reason we're looking at that is this is if you combine them all together in like a stepped bar chart, I suppose they call it. This is historically what daily activity on the Ronin blockchain looks like. And if you go back to the start of 2022, so over 2.5 years ago, we have Axie Infinity sort of reaching its peak. So actually, I think it's reached its peak in November in the year before. But anyway, it peaked about 100. It peaked about 1 million, I think. But here we have sort of the decline of Axie Infinity back in the day, and then really not much happening in 2022. Really not much happening in 2023, and then start of 2024 we have Pixels launching in November, I think it was. Yeah. And we see sort of this blue line here is Pixels, but it's not just sort of Pixels had its sort of peaks and troughs, but I guess what's interesting with Ronin is we've seen a few different sort of again apps and games and products combining. So there's one here called Carve in yellow that comes on board, and then more recently we had this Lumitera, which is a new game coming on board, and then these few other sort of small ones. So basically the headline here is we see massive growth. So if we go from here, basically no growth, no activity at all in December 2023, and less than a year later it's sort of peaked at over 2 million. So it's quite a lot of growth there for Ronin in terms of sort of raw sort of daily on-chain activity. And this is breaking it out so we can see in a bit more detail. So Pixels is still the biggest app. It's a game, bunch of stuff going on. As I say, Chapter 2 came out and dropped the audience, and then it's gone back up again. This Lumitera has just rocketed up to 750,000 daily active unique wallets. So this is an RPG game coming out on Ronin. It's not live yet. This is just people tapping to get tokens. So this is like a token airdrop event that's happening. It's actually a points airdrop. So you just sort of tap to get some points, and that will get you some tokens, people hope. So that's what's happening there. This is nothing. This is not nothing to do with the game, but this is not the game. This is the sort of a campaign for the game. And that's what's really driven this. You can see here this red line. This is what really has driven the growth in Ronin during July. I mean, it's really bumped it up, obviously, by 750,000. So it's almost not quite doubled it, but given it a 30% sort of increase. 50% increase even, something like that. And then we have this one here called Carve. So Carve is this sort of slightly weird sort of social farming, gaming platform. They call it a modular data sort of blockchain. We don't really have to go into detail too much on Carve, but Carve is basically a big social farming platform across many different blockchains. So these are, again, this is not people playing games, this is people retweeting stuff and just like gaining points for the Carve token when it goes live. So we have to be a little bit careful. These are games, although Apron is not live as a game. So this is people sort of messing around for sort of campaigns involved with the sort of the Apron token. But the two big, there's sort of three big drivers of Ronin's daily activity. One is a game, one is an airdrop, a token airdrop, a points airdrop system for a game that's coming, and one is just a social farming platform. So it is true, this is what we see. Ronin's doing really well, over 2 million daily active unique wallets, but I'm not quite sure how sustained this activity will be. So particularly someone like Lumaterra has shot up because everyone's like, oh, free money. But when the game comes out, I'd be amazed if it gets 750,000 people playing this. Sort of nice looking, but it is a Chinese developed RPG, and you just don't see that much on-chain activity from these sort of games. We'll find out in a few. I think there's something going live in August, so I guess we'll get a better idea in the coming months whether the on-chain activity when this game actually goes live is anything like this. But at the moment, this is just a sort of marketing campaign, so we need to be aware of that. So anyway, that's what's going on in July. Good to see stuff launching. I guess that's always the positive thing, is when new things launch, we get to sort of find out whether people like them or not, and we get to see where the growth happens. And obviously, not all these things are going to be successful. Some of them maybe it will take them a few years to actually start to grow to higher levels. So we look forward to that. We always see lots of variety. We see lots of sort of immediate growth when stuff starts giving away free money, but we know that's not sustainable in the long term. So what's interesting for these is it's good they're growing, but where are they going to end up in August, September, October? We will keep our eye on that. So do subscribe, don't miss out, and I'll see you next time.